how are we? And welcome back to another episode of Clover Retribution Build Showcase. Today, we're finally getting round to it. It's Void. Took a little while to grind up the mastery from complete zero for that one Void Zone move. But we got it now. It's all ready and it's all done. So all I've now got to do is showcase this build. But first, again, I'd just like to also really thank you guys again for all the support. We recently hit 200 subscribers, so thank you all so much for that. Again, even like I said with the 100 subscribers, I've never expected to get any views on this shit. I never expected anyone to watch it. But I'm so glad that all of you do enjoy watching it, and I hope that you will all continue to watch these videos and continue to watch my content, hopefully as it evolves over the years. If it evolves, maybe I'll be stuck doing build showcases for the rest of my life, who knows. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into today's build, which is going to be Void Disintegrate, because I don't know, I just thought it sounded cool. Anyway, to start off, we're going to be using Void. 4-leaf or not, doesn't matter. Void is still very, very good, even without. So just Void is all you need. If you have 4-leaf variant, cool, I'll go over that when we get into magic anyway, about what would change. Then going for high elf, again, just because we're not running 4-leaf, we do slightly less damage, so high elf. And then boss slayer, again, more damage, but again, I'll explain it further in just a second. So with all that out of the way, let's jump in game and I'll get to explaining. Alright, so here we are in game with my lovely Void 3-leaf. And all the moves, as you can see, lovely and gold clovered. So, to get into the magic, Void. Void is widely renowned, in my opinion, as like kind of the best starter magic, just because it has such low mastery requirements for its moves, but at the same time can cook a lot of damage despite that fact. So, if you're a starter, you've just started out on Clover Retribution and you've just rolled Void, hang on to it, because Void is quite possibly the best starter magic in the game, I would argue. It's the easiest to use, it's probably the easiest to get all the skills for, and to be honest, probably does some of the highest damage out of all of the ones that you will get. So, definitely one of my favourite ones to recommend for anyone to use. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into the moves, shall we? So, excuse me. First off, we're going to start off with Wormhole. This move is unlocked at 5 mastery, costs you a total of 25 mana, and will coat you in energy from the void and allow you to fly along the ground, applying gloom to targets that are hit. Which, if you're unaware, gloom, basically what it does, and it's quite a good, I think it's, to be honest, I'd say gloom is the best status effect in the game. But essentially, once you apply a stack of gloom, you apply stacks of gloom, essentially, and then at 5 stacks, your target will explode and create a black vortex underneath you that will damage that person. So essentially, you will use Wormhole. Normally you use it like this. You can like try and keep the Wormhole on the person. So if that looks a bit weird, don't worry. If you're just learning Void, you'll get used to it. Try to make sure you have shift lock on. If not, I think you can just. I know you can't use arrow keys. Okay, keep shift lock on, and then all you want to do is just keep it kind of level. And then all you want to do is try and just keep it on the enemy. So just keep running it in circles, basically, to keep it like on one spot, so that you keep hitting the enemy and keep proccing more stacks of gloom. Because once you hit 5 stacks, you will apply gloom underneath the character, and it will spawn this little circle, which will then start dealing tick damage to the enemy so long as they are on it. One of my favourite things to do is to cast Depth Coil to slow them down, and then cast Wormhole, but I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, very good move. 25 mana cost is dumb. It means you can literally spam it, and with a 6-second cooldown, it honestly, one of the highest DPS moves for how much you can spam it. Like, look, I'm spamming it again, and I'll wait a little bit more. And then look, I can literally spam it again. You see what I mean? And it's, look at my mana bar. I don't even have that much mana, and it's not even really draining it at all. Which is why I will say, if you want to go like heavy int with this, you can. Like, you really can with Void. But anyway, another thing about this move, it also has hyper armor, so you will not be able to be knocked out of this once it casts. Noted, you can get knocked out of it before it gets cast, so during this part, if someone hits you while you're glowing and knocks you down, you will get cancelled. But as soon as that purple thing spawns and you start flying, it can't be cancelled anymore. You can get hit by anything, you'll still take the damage, but you will, you know, carry on as normal, which is really, really good. Means obviously with early game, you've got a lot less of a chance of getting absolutely annihilated, because you're not going to get launched 60 foot across the ground and then whiff your move. So, very, very nice. Next up is Depth Coil. This is obtained at 25 mastery and has a cost of 70 mana. Again, not a lot. With a cooldown of 24 seconds, you spawn a big black void under your feet. Anybody that jumps into this thing has a chance of having gloom applied to them also. This will also slow down humanoid NPCs. It will not slow down boss NPCs, however humanoids it will. It will slow them down, which is why I was saying earlier I like to use these two moves in conjunction with each other. So, you know, if I'm fighting an enemy or a couple M1s, you know, knock their NPC back, and because the way the AI works in this game, they'll just walk towards you. All you got to do is stand still, cast Void, jump out of it, wait for them to get in it, then once they're in it, they'll be slowed, you then hit them with that, boom, easy peasy. You can get some really high DPS, even without high int off, with just that little combo, which is really good. But that's not the only thing. The last piece of the puzzle. Now this move, Void Zone, funnily enough, because even I didn't know it existed, is a bit of a lesser known move, and unfortunately has an extremely high mastery requirement, higher than that of the 4-leaf move. But I'll do Void Zone first because it's a move that you will unlock at some point. This move is unlocked at 95 mastery. So, very, very high mastery, and costs 300 mana to cast, sorry. Now, that almost seems like it's not worth it, but the damage buff you get is extremely good. Essentially what this move does is it will spawn a big void on the floor, or a void zone, I should say, of which anything in this zone will deal increased damage. Obviously, the buff strength and the size of it will increase with your Clover mastery, hence why you want max Clovers, for the maximum amount of damage output and the maximum size. But once you're in this zone, all you've got to do is just cast moves inside this zone and they will deal more damage. Which is really, really good, because it means that now Void is not only a damaging magic, but can now also be used as a kind of sub-support, a bit like how Ice is, where, you know, it has like the effect that allows it to break down shields and stuff, or break down damage resistance. It's a bit like that, except for with Void, you are now able to deal high damage while also dealing and allowing other people to deal even higher damage. Now it should be noted that the zone buff is actually 1.5 times stronger on you yourself. So everybody else won't get as big of a buff as you will, but you will benefit the most out of it, which, to be honest, just helps for solo play. Because even if you're not, you know, playing with other people, it's not like it's the other way around, where like, buffs other people more, it buffs you more. So, if anything, you want to be using this more for yourself. To be honest, a bit more of a selfish move, but other people can use it too. But yeah, very, very good move, and definitely worth getting once you get to that mastery requirement. Very, very long cooldown, unfortunately. As you can see, it's still ticking down, as I say. I think it's about 120 seconds. Does not get affected by Clover Mastery. So, unfortunately, you are just going to have to wait for it to come back up. It'll probably be one of those things you kind of cast like once a fight, maybe twice, because it doesn't, you know, it costs so much mana. But at that point, that's good, because it means you've got enough mana to cast it twice a fight and still have enough mana, like plenty, to spam these two moves all you want. So, really, really, really good. And last but not least, I will cover the 4-leaf move, because if you are running 4-leaf, the only thing that will change is you will now have access to the move Black Hole. This is a mastery requirement on level 65, and costs 100 mana. And essentially, it spawns this big concentrated sphere of void damage, of which will blow up right after sucking everybody in, and then it will deal big damage. So essentially, it just spawns this big wormhole, a bit like the wormhole here. It spawns one of these, just a static one in the middle. It will suck all the enemies in and then explode outwards, dealing big damage. Very, very good move to use in conjunction with Void Zone, because you can just drop Void Zone and then drop Black Hole straight on top of it. And obviously, everything gets sucked into the zone, explodes, deals big damage, yada yada. You get the point. But extremely good move, and to be honest, extremely good magic. I will stick by it by saying that, you know, Void is probably one of the best starter magics in the game. Having Clover Mastery on it, on these two moves, honestly, not all that necessary, because I don't think it does anything other than I think it makes Depth Coil bigger, and I'm not even sure it has any effect on Wormhole, as far as I'm aware. It doesn't say anything in the Trello, so as far as I'm aware, no effect on Wormhole. But Depth Coil, it just makes it a bit bigger. It doesn't affect damage, so it just means that you've got less of a chance to hit someone unless they are right on top of you. But again, if you can get them right on top of you and you're able to just keep them in place, then you know what, it's not even that bad. You don't have to worry too much. The only one you do want Clover Mastery for really is Void Zone, because obviously once you get Void Zone, it gets bigger, and also will help you deal even more damage with the higher Clover Mastery. So you want to make sure you have that on max Clover Mastery if you can. But yeah, that's pretty much Void covered. With that out of the way, moving on to the race, we're going with High Elf for this one. Now I did debate using something like Mahari. However, I've thought about it and I was like, there's really no need for that extra survivability with this build, because Void kind of has like I like to call it like a sub thing that it can do. It's like a sub talent of it, basically meaning that you know, it has a different bit, or has an alternative use for you know, doing it. So essentially, if you want to escape something, all you got to do is just press Wormhole and then do that, because Wormhole can fly, so you can just fly away from whatever's trying to attack you. Which is why I decided that, you know, if you're able to do that and you're able to slow enemies with Depth Coil, to be honest, what is the point of running a race that's going to heal you? Like, okay, yes, I don't have a lot of HP, and yes, you definitely could run one if you feel like you're struggling with survivability, but in my case, I've decided to run High Elf. Mainly just, again, because of its 8% damage boost, and also because I don't have anything better. You know, if you had Solian, run that. Or Hybrid Elf, or sorry, I keep saying that. Hybrid Dwarf. If you have Hybrid Dwarf, run that. It's even better. But it's my highest damage buff race. If you have a higher damage buff race, run that one. It's really not difficult. Just basically, with Void, you want to be dealing as much damage as possible. So I'm running a race that allows me to do so. Again, with High Elf, also gives me 15% more mana and 5% more int. But 5% more int? 5 more int. But again, really not all that much to really talk about here. Just a damage buff. And the same pretty much goes for the next bit, our trait, of which, as you can see, we're doing this again. The same in my old lightning video, if you remember that. I'm going to recommend you use Mystical Eyes. Obviously, as you could see, I'm not using Mystical Eyes because, again, I don't have it. But it is an extremely good damage buff. Like, it's so good. Especially for Void, where, like, 90% of your moves are multiple ticking. Like, Depth Coil, multiple ticks. Wormhole, you do multiple ticks on it. Once you deal the Gloomed and put the Gloom Explosion below them, multiple ticks. So you're constantly dealing that crit damage, which is really, really good. So obviously, that's why I'm saying you should be using Mystical Eyes if you have it. Now, for you who are unaware, Mystical Eyes gives you a couple nice stat bumps with +8 in int, con, and strength, as well as a 10% boost to your max mana and a 10% boost to your damage. But the main attraction is its passive, which essentially will target the enemy and stack 5 types or 5 damage stacks. So a really bad way of explaining it, but essentially you will deal damage 5 times, and I'll put a little thing up on screen now what the actual thing looks like. I'll put it down here if I can, so you'll see what it looks like. But essentially that meter will fill up to 5, and those 5 stacks that you deal, it will deal 15% of that damage as a crit. So let's say with Wormhole I dealt 50 damage, right? That means I dealt in that cycle, or in that cycle for the crit, a total of 250 damage. So my critical hit will deal my next attack plus 15%. So essentially you'll deal let's say 50 plus 15% of 250, which I'm horrible at math, but that's something like hang on, I'll get it in a minute. It's like 37.5. Yeah, 37.5, I think. So it'll deal 50 plus 37.5, meaning 80 something, you know. Which, again, is really, really good. Obviously, as you can see, I'm not using that because luck hates me and I can't get anything that's actually new or good. So I'm just having to put up with it. But in my case, because I don't have that, I am using Boss Slayer for the 20% boost in magic damage, or in just damage in general. Obviously, takes away gives you 30% more cooldown on your dash, but as I always say, do you really notice it? No is the answer. You can also run something like Mana Rampage. Pretty good alternative, to be honest, if you want to just deal like constant higher DPS rather than only on bosses. And because of Void's extremely low mana cost, you definitely could. A 16% more damage to your, you know, more damage? Am I good? A 16% more consumption for all of your mana cost is honestly not that bad with Void. So you definitely could run that. In the same respect that you could definitely run the Forsaken One title with Void if you really wanted to, because it gives 75% more, or deals you 75% more mana consumption, but at the same time you have so much mana spare because these two moves take nothing that you probably could run it, to be fair, and it would be fine. Obviously I'm not going to recommend you do that, but you know what, if you want to go and try that, be my guest. I'm sure it probably wouldn't be that bad. But speaking of gear, let's get on to stat distribution and gear. Now again, most of the time when I talk about gear and stat distribution, it's basically the same, but the same goes here. You want really high intelligence and resting con. That's essentially how I always play it with these high damage kind of builds. You just want to have a lot of intelligence so that you can deal a lot of damage. As you can see, intelligence increases magical damage, so makes sense that you should put more in intelligence. Again, because we have all of that in intelligence, we have the Arcane Insight buff, which I'll stick up on screen now. Again, really good buff just to have. Probably won't ever proc it using Void, unfortunately, because it has such a low mana cost. But it's there if you get to a point in a fight where you're really struggling and it bumps your damage up a little bit further. Cool, you know what I mean? But yeah, nothing crazy, but it's there, you know what I mean? In terms of gear, again, if you've got Kamsin's coat, run that. I'll put it up on screen now what it deals. Same with the Gourd. I'll put them both up on screen. But yeah, if you've got those two, run those two because they are very, very good. If you don't, again, like I always say, just run things that put into the stats you want. So for me, that's con, and intelligence, bit of dex and intelligence. You know, it's just running anything that gives you bonuses, because although the traits, the stat traits don't take into account armor when they calculate it, you do still get the buffs. So it's still really, really good to have loads of con especially if you want the Arcane Insight buff. If you have loads of con, it means that technically, even though I have 179, technically you have to take like all of these off of that total to get my actual con total, because there's like a million things, like 100 and something. So really I've only got 79 con of stat points put in, you know, something like that. But again, as I said, all you're really looking to do is just kind of build yourself out, make yourself a bit more tanky. But that out of the way, let's move on to showcasing this build, of which I'm probably going to do on ogres because it's just easier to do. So I'll meet you guys over there. Alright, so here we are, over at the old friend the ogres. Big Oggy. So essentially when you're using Void, the only thing that changes with your 4-leaf variant is that you will need to sprinkle in using Black Hole. Most of the time, if you're going to use it, I would recommend using it after you cast Void Zone, which will be the first thing you do when you fight anyway. But it'll be Void Zone, then Black Hole, then you do the thing I'm about to show you. But with that out of the way, let's get into actually how to use the 3-leaf variant, which is essentially the same. All you want to do is just deal damage, deal damage, deal damage. I like to try not to use the moves if I can help it, just because I don't know if the Gloom status applies while they're on shield. I think it does, but I'm just weird like that. So cast Void Zone, and then I'm just going to, while he's low, there we go, cast that. Now use Wormhole, and as you see, I'll circle through the enemy, like that, and he's dead. Lovely job. And obviously I have a lot of intelligence, and that's kind of a lot to take on, but the long and short of it is, drop Void Zone, drop Depth Coil. Both of these two will now deal passively what they need to do. So that will buff your damage, Depth Coil will start ticking away on him. All you then need to focus on is doing Wormhole and doing the whole circle through them to make sure you deal all of the stacks you can of Gloomed. Once you've then done that, just start M1ing until Wormhole and Depth Coil are back off cooldown, and then just start cycling them again. Again, I like to just kind of use them like that, in that way. And then if this comes off and you want to use it again before it comes back up, no problem, you can do. But I think you can get like 4 casts of Wormhole before Depth Coil comes back up. So if you want to just spam it, go ahead, be my guest. But yeah, that pretty much does it for this build video. Again, I can only apologise that it took so long to get them out, even though I told you guys that it'd be out like this weekend. I'm not trying to be like Fabio and delay things to all the hell, but you know what, it's fine. We got it out. All the Clover Mastery's there, showcased the whole thing. It's done now, so we can stop worrying about it, right? In terms of Void itself, in conclusion, extremely good starter magic. Like, if you're just starting the game out, even if you only have the 3-leaf variant, this magic claps like so hard, it's not even funny. Even without the Void Zone buff, you still deal really, really, really solid DPS. So there's honestly no reason to like need to get this move. It's really, really good, and you should get it because it is a big stat buff, or no, sorry, a big damage buff. But at the end of the day, not necessary for you to deal really big DPS. But yeah, it's just one of like the easiest to use and easiest to obtain, seeing as it's like I think it's the highest chance legendary to get alongside water. So good thing to have, really good for early game. But yeah, with all that out of the way, I'd just like to thank you all ever so much for watching. In terms of the next video, I'm not sure what it is. It's probably going to be dice, because there's this one guy, you know who you are, keeps asking me to do dice builds on every single comments of every single video. And as much as I don't really know how I'm going to make a build with it, you know what? It's fine. We'll figure that out. So I've got to get Clover Mastery for it, but it only has 2 moves anyway, so it shouldn't take too long. And then once I've done that, I don't know. Maybe I'll make a guide video in the meantime. If you guys let me know in the comments down below what you want to see, then you know what? I'll make it. Just let me know. Obviously, just bear in mind, I see a lot of comments asking me for certain magics and stuff. I don't have everything. I am missing cooking, ice, time, and light. I do not have any 4 of those magics. So if you want to build on them, I'm sorry, I can't do it because I don't have the magic. As much as I wish I could just, spawn them in for myself and just use them and show you a build with them, I can't. If I could do that, I'd be making like 90% of my builds with Solian, let's be honest. But unfortunately, so much is not the case, so I'm just going to have to put up with it. But yeah, anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. Really, thank you again for all the support on the videos. I so much appreciate it. You don't understand. It's genuinely so nice to see all these people enjoying my videos and watching them. And I even get comments, people being like, "Thanks, man. Really needed this build." So it's good to know that people are actually genuinely like looking up builds and like they're finding my channel first, which is really nice. Because I love that. I don't know what it is. I'm yapping again, honestly, but I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't know what it is, but I love so much being able to create something and craft something like a build, or like showcase something that you need to do, and having someone find it and go, "Oh, thanks, man. I was really looking for this," and like be like, "Yeah, I really needed this." Oh, it's the best feeling in the world. You don't understand. It's the best feeling in the world. I love it so much. Which is why I make these videos so often. I make the guides and I make the build videos because I love seeing the comments from you guys saying, "Oh, thanks, man, didn't know how to do this, and now I'm able to do it." Or, "Thanks, man, really needed this build." And even like the questions in the comments, I appreciate you guys, you come to me for the answers. I know there's the Trello and stuff like that, and you could go look it up yourself. But if you ask me and stuff like that, then at least I have higher knowledge because I've been playing the game for a lot longer. And obviously some things aren't mentioned on the Trello, so I'm not going to teach you like the little tidbits about like what Gloomed does and all that jazz. So I don't know, I just really appreciate it. But anyway, let me stop yapping and actually close out this video. So thank you all very much for watching for the 3rd time now. If you want to leave a like rating on this video, if you felt like you liked the video, please do so. If you want to leave a comment down below telling me what video or what build you would like to see next, again, feel free to do so. Any questions, again, put them down in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer them. And if you feel like you want to subscribe to the channel, we're at 216 at my last check. That is mental. I can't get my head around there's 216 of you guys, but thank you so much. But if you feel like you want to subscribe and become a part of the people that sit here and listen to me yap for 30 minutes, then you know what? Do so as well. I really appreciate everyone that subscribes. It really helps. Well, it doesn't help because I don't put ads on the video, but I like knowing that there's people that can tune in every single time. So without further ado, thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Peace.